part of modern society. And I mean, people in the road safety sphere are not so, I suppose, blinded to expect that we will ever get to zero, although that is one of the global goals. But, you know, even if we had 5 less deaths per month, we'd go from, in Queensland, we'd go from 300 to 240. And if we repeat that for a few years, we're getting down to where, 50 is not unreasonable. And 50 is still 50 lives, 50 families, but it's a damn sight better than 300. So, I believe improvement is achievable, but it's actually a community health issue. It is not a policing issue.
Welcome to the Leaders of Influence podcast, the show where leadership is not a title. It's all about influence and impact. Each episode, I sit down with leaders who have built trust, moved teams, and shaped outcomes where it mattered most. No motivational quotes, just the decisions, the habits, and the pressure-tested principles that create real influence. If you want to lead with more clarity, credibility, and care factor, hit follow right now so you don't miss the next conversation. Now, let's get into today's episode.
Well, welcome to the Find Your Influence podcast with Anton, where it's time again to unpack a big topic with an amazing human called Peter Flanders. Peter Flanders APM, which is the Australian Police Medal. And by the way, my father-in-law was quite a respected police officer back in the day too, which I'll talk to Peter about when we get there. Peter's an Australian public sector and road safety leader based on the sunny coast, Queensland, the most beautiful part of the world ever, with deep operational experience across policing, traffic ops, crisis response, cannot wait to hear some of this stuff, and emergency management. His career centres on reducing road trauma, absolutely, and important, and improving safety outcomes through practical enforcement expertise, statewide operational coordination, and leadership, where all good things start, that builds cohesion across multi-unit teams. He's also a high-performance motorcycling consultant. Now, that's going to be interesting to talk about, bringing an unusual and valuable blend of frontline road policing perspective and rider behaviour insight. Since January 2024, Pete has served as the strategic advisor to the MAIC, which I'll ask Peter what that stands for, and the University of the Sunshine Coast Road Safety Research Collaboration, supporting applied research and translating road safety evidence into practical initiatives. In this capacity, his value is likely the strongest at the junction of policy, operational feasibility, and human factors. Team, if you're not looking forward to this, I certainly am. Peter Flanders, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Talk us through some of those big acronyms, mate. And what have I left out there, basically?
I don't know who wrote that. I think they exaggerated a bit, mate, to be honest.
We got an amazing intro writer called Debbie, who you've probably emailed, and Debbie's a beautiful
wow.
Does a great job for us.
Look, what the acronym that you picked up on the intro, the MACE, it stands for the Motor Accident Insurance Commission. So in my role at the university, the Motor Accident Insurance Commission are a major funding body to a collaboration of our university and 2 others that work on road safety.
Beautiful.
So yeah, it's the MACE Uni SC Road Safety Research Collaboration. That's how that works out.
Mate, can I just ask you, and I know, and this might be too personal and it's not on the script, must be a tough gig. Like road safety, man, like we lose 300 per people in each state on average per year. That's a big number. Man.
It is a huge number. And I mean, if I look at this totally objectively, and my friends who see this podcast will go on his high horse again.
Good, George.
Yeah, over the last, let's say, 6 years, road safety has killed more people in Queensland than all other crime combined, to a figure of 5 or 6 times. So, when we hear about a murder or something I'm not devaluing those person's lives in any way at all. But while that's happened, 5 or 6 people have died on the road, and it's not even front page, but those families are torn apart because every person in that vehicle left home that morning expecting to come home. Their families expected them to be there, and in a split second, a stranger usually has killed their loved one. Now, if that doesn't resonate with people, I don't know what is. It just, I've got prickles on the back of my neck speaking about it. I've been doing it for so long, it's not funny. So yeah, it's absolutely my passion to try and reduce the amount of families who go through that pain every year.
Man, thank you so much for sharing. And I would expect that our viewers and our listeners feel that passion come through. And, I feel like we're in good hands when we've got people like you looking after us on the road. But your work's never going to be done, Peter Flanders, sadly.
No, it's not. It's part of modern society. And I mean, people in the road safety sphere are not so, I suppose, blinded to expect that we will ever get to zero, although that is one of the global goals. But, even if we had 5 less deaths per month, we'd go from, in Queensland, we'd go from 300 to 240. And if we repeat that for a few years, we're getting down to where, 50 is not unreasonable. And 50 is still 50 lives, 50 families, but it's a damn sight better than 300. So, I believe improvement is achievable, but it's actually a community health issue. It is not a policing issue.
Agreed. It's our behaviour as drivers.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So let's put our influence hat on for a moment. And actually, before I ask you how you might influence drivers, let me ask you what the topic or the term or the concept, of the word influence means to you. Peter, you've got an influential role, but what does influence mean to you, please, mate?
I actually obviously watch your podcast to prepare for this.
Oh, hope it's all right. Hope it was good. Time well spent.
Absolutely. So I actually put some thought into it, and I'll tell you what it is, and if we've got time, a very quick example.
Of course.
And it's, I believe it's creating an environment where ordinary people can do extraordinary things. And I'll give you the quick example. Years ago, when I was the officer in charge of Maroochydore Police Station, we had a breakout from the watch house where a couple of police officers were bashed very badly. And lo and behold, it was State of Origin night. So we were having a State of Origin function upstairs as a social function. Thank God we hadn't started drinking yet. And I got the news. So I said to my people, I said, get in the cars. These are the 3 bad guys. I want them back here. And there's 3 young ladies, who are a bit older now, but I got to give you the picture, and please don't, audience, take this the wrong way. They were all dressed in the tiniest miniskirt party dresses you could possibly, high heels, looking $1 million. And the extraordinary bit was, I still remember them running out of the police station in that gear with a gun belt strapped round, and then within half an hour, 2 of them had dragged 2 of these bad guys back. And I've just gone, that is the epitome of what I just said. Creating an environment where they've just gone, boss, we're going to do this for you.
Wow.
So.
Whoa. Great example, Peter.
Yeah.
Great example.
And they're amazing women. They really are. But that is burnt in my memory. That, the gun belts and high heels. It was cool.
And they got they're in their State of Origin best, and they got a gun belt slinged around them, running out in height. That's off tap.
Yeah,
that is a great story.
And each of them is still in the police service and doing amazing things.
Good stuff. I had a niece in the police service too, by the way. Yeah, who who was actually in the child crimes,
No.
and that probably knocked her around. And well, actually, in a good way, maybe too, that she went on to be a solicitor.
Yeah.
She gone to,
That-
and a lot of people,
that takes a
lot of
special
policemen
person.
do law.
Yeah. No,
So
they
she
are
wants
special
to-
people. Yep.
Very, 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 very. Mate, great way to start. So, my father-in-law, as I said, and Pat Bruton, who rest his soul,
Pat Broom.
was, I think he got to something like 5 from the,
Yep.
you
I
know, the
think
commissioner
he
or
was a
something. So he's quite
superintendent.
highly ranked.
Actually,
Yeah, he did well.
I actually know the man.
No, no.
Yes.
Holy crap, Peter Flanders.
Yeah.
Now, my
no,
wife was,
Earlier,
my wife listens to this religiously. She's, what do you remember about Pat?
it was early in my career, and I actually can't place it.
Right.
And I'm not just saying this. I remember
No.
that he was a very compassionate person.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, he's a decent bloke.
Oh, nice. Maybe that's where his lovely daughter gets it from.
Oh, you're a suck up.
Oh, no, she's beautiful. Mate, I'm lucky. I'm telling you, 32 years married. Don't worry about that.
Cool.
Who would have thought, eh?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? So Pat ended up, there's only one reference to Pat Bruton on the internet that I can still find now, and it was Fitzgerald Inquiry. There you go. There's a
Yep.
small world for you.
Yeah, no,
But anyway,
I lived through that. Yeah.
that would have changed policing, I would have thought.
Yeah, it did, and it was a really hard time just to be
Tough time.
a uniform copper, because none of that rubbish had anything to do with your average copper on the street, but we wore it in every interaction, and that was a difficult time.
Isn't it amazing? And I think there's a whole lot of messages around this, Peter, how the behaviour of a few taint a whole organisation or a whole business, let's say.
Absolutely. Yep. Right.
Thanks for sharing. And for anyone that hasn't heard of the Fitzgerald Inquiry, if you're listening outside of here, Google it. It's an interesting story. But as Peter talked about, and I get it, how tough it would have been for frontline officers at the time, who were out serving us, trying to keep people safe and serving their communities, which police officers do and do with love and with care and compassion to the best of their ability. Peter Flanders is one of those. Peter, you got the Australian Police Medal. Can you just talk us all through that, mate? What does that mean?
Look,
please?
the Australian Police Medal is a medal. It's issued arguably by, well, when I got mine, the Queen, now the King, via the Governor General. Yeah, no, they don't give it to you. They just send it in the post. And so,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
bummer.
yeah.
So you don't get to go over there.
Yeah, Uber turns up at your door, mate. No. No, so it is a medal issued at that level. It's part of the Australia Day Honours, and you get it for different things. Mine was basically in relation to road safety leadership, and in particular in relation to the advancement of motorcycle safety and motorcycles within the Queensland Police, because that's my absolute passion, is motorcycling. So yeah, it was issued for that. And you know, it was one of those things. I didn't know anything about it, didn't expect it. And you just sort of, I suppose, when you get the letter to tell you you're going to get it, you go, oh, I must have done something right sometime, you know, like, yeah. So
Humbling.
it is humbling. Absolutely, it is. Yeah.
Good on you, mate. Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's so
thank you.
cool. I'd love to know how many lives you've saved on the lot, right? And not only community lives, but policing lives too, if you're really teaching them how to be safer in their job, operating, you know, this fast.
That's actually, you've nailed a really good point, because in road safety, unlike crime, you actually never know your impact, because you're preventing stuff from happening as opposed to dealing with it. Well, you obviously deal with it later, but you know, the police car going up and down the Bruce Highway, who knows, might have stopped that person overtaking the road train head on into someone. But you'll never know that. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's thankless. I mean, that's probably the inappropriate word, but you never actually know your impact, but you hope you're having some impact.
I love it.
Yeah.
Beautifully put. And I do a lot of work in the safety space, and that's why I know that number of 300, because in Australian workplaces each year we lose about 191 on average lives a year, and that's too many, you know, but I know that it's more than that in road safety per state each year. And
Still a lot of
workplace
people.
health and safety, too many.
Yeah, it's a lot of people.
But as you know and I know, every single one of those statistics is a family member, and statistics are so inhumane. You know, there's 300 people, but there's 300 families.
Yeah.
300 brothers, sisters, wives, husbands, mums, dads, cousins, and you know,
And I mean, the impact on families is incredible. Like there's all of these levels, I suppose. One is it's happened, yeah, it's a statistic. Two is there's a family grieving, they won't have dad there at Christmas. But I mean, that's the surface. The reality is, you know, if I use that example, there's a young lady with 2 young kids who now doesn't have at least half the household income. You know, so everything just builds and builds and builds because of this. And I refer to them as crashes, not accidents on the road. So there's a lifelong impact for that family as opposed to just losing the human. You know, and you see a lot of families struggle terribly after that.
Oh, mate, you would. And let me give me a minute or two now, if I could. You know, we're out there driving. What's your plea? What's your plea to drivers out there who have the ability to be safe on the roads? What do you ask us or really plead with us to do differently?
The number one thing, and I know this gets criticised all the time by people who actually haven't studied it. The number one thing is to slow down. Now, I'm going to quote a bit of study here, but the International Transport Federation, I think off the top of my head, they did some modelling a while back, and they found out if we reduce the average speed on the road network by 5 kilometres an hour, that's the average speed, we would immediately save 26% on serious injuries and 27% on fatalities. So I'm on my knees begging people, just slow down that little bit. Do 100 rather than the 105 you typically do. And it's not about whether you get a speeding ticket. It's about creating time and distance. Because if you've got time to react and you've got distance to react, you don't crash. And if you look at the formula for speed, it involves time and distance.
And just before we went to our sponsor break, Peter was talking about the number one thing you can do and that I can do, that we can all do as drivers, is slow down by 5k an hour, give ourselves time and distance.
Yep.
Thanks, Peter.
Yeah.
Is there a number 2 and 3, mate, or is that it? Just slow down.
That's number one, but by a huge margin.
Right, by country miles.
If you do that, I mean that everything builds on that. Like if you give yourself the time and the distance by slowing down, you're then not so much in a rush. You're not making panicked lane changes and whatnot. And I'll give you an example of that. During the Commonwealth Games in Queensland, they reduced the speed limit from Brisbane to the Gold Coast from 110 to 80, just for the 3 weeks of Commonwealth Games. And there's a bit of research done behind that. Guess what? Not one crash. Not one. Number 2, the travel time from Brisbane to the Gold Coast was extended by 2 minutes.
No.
So the idea that you need to go 110 to get to the Gold Coast quickly is utter BS.
So let me ask you this. Let's put this in perspective. In a normal 3-week period, Peter, how many people would lose their lives between Brisbane and the Gold Coast in general terms?
I actually don't have that off the top of my
That's
head.
okay. But someone will have a loss of life potentially
pretty well
during that 3 weeks.
Pretty well, certainly.
And you had none. You went from something to none. you've saved a life at least.
Yeah, and no serious injuries either. Like,
Not
was just
so
non-existent.
angry.
so,
Big deal.
yeah, it is a big deal just by going that little bit slower.
Thank you so much. Hey, let's take a step back and let's jump into influence again. And I actually hope that we're influencing some of our listeners to change their behaviour with this, because this is really, really powerful stuff. Who influenced you, Peter? Have you got a dad in the police force? Have you got an uncle?
No,
Have you got a mum?
not a dad in the police force, but Dad probably was my greatest influence. He was a truck driver his entire life. You're not going to believe this. In his entire life, he never, ever got a ticket being a truck driver. True story. Yeah. Safe. I remember at his funeral, one of his mates, he said to me, he says, Jimmy, that's my dad's name, he said, Jimmy was a very particular truck driver. And that's probably exactly right. Like, everything he did had to be right. It had to be at the standard. And I think that, and his personal integrity, he is a man who did not do anything wrong. When he got really, really angry, like, I mean, explosive angry, he would say, "Flaming hell."
Never
I
swore.
wish I was that good, honestly. Like, I say a
Me
lot of
too.
other things other than that.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was just this, he wasn't educated. He went to grade 7. He was a country boy, travelled all over Australia with the truck, but his integrity was just...
Wow. Good on you. And what a guide. What an influence.
Absolutely.
What an amazing human to look up to.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And he was, and aside to that, which is probably not about leadership, but back in the day when men were men, he was 5'6", and he was so strong. I've seen him load a semi-trailer with, the big drums of fuel, 200 litres,
Yeah.
picking them up onto his knees, onto the semi-trailer, loading an entire semi-trailer by himself. I tried to do it when I was about 19. I thought I'd help him. They were bad. I couldn't move it, So he was this quiet bull of a man who just had so much integrity. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Shit.
good man.
Good story. Thanks for sharing. And you're lucky that you had someone like that just to guide you through life, eh?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Did Jimmy, your dad's driving record, did that inspire you road safety wise? Like, and I'm hesitant to ask, but was there a moment did you have an accident or a crash that changed your life, or was it more dad's experience?
No, there was definitely a moment where I changed the way I drove. Once again, a little bit of a backstory. I was in the police. I did my motorcycle course as a student. And what happens when you do the bike course as a police bike rider, you get trained to an incredibly high level of skill. And particularly for young blokes, not so much the young ladies. You ride around for about 6 months. You start to look in the windows of shops. You look pretty damn good on the police bike. And round about then you have a big crash, because your mindset has changed from safety to how good am I. And I was a victim of that. So my first crash, I was actually chasing a bloke in Albert Street in Brisbane who was shooting up the place with a rifle. And I entered Little Albert Street, and I was screaming down there on the bike, and someone pointed back the other way. So I hammered the brakes to do a U-turn, and lo and behold, they were sanding the sandstone buildings at that time to freshen them up. So there's this light covering of sand across the road. And of course I went down, and back in those days we didn't wear jackets. So my big, back then I had a big stainless steel revolver. It went scooting up the street. I'm standing there beside the bike like Dirty Harry with blood pouring out of me everywhere, no skin on my back. And this fella comes up, I never forget it, he comes up and he's got my revolver between his, like this, and he goes, "Is this yours?" I go, "Give me that." Anyway, so ultimately I ended up getting this guy, but I was standing in the middle of Albert Street, with this big revolver, blood pouring out of me, and Courier Mail turned up as they do before anyone else and got a picture of it. So
Have you still got the photo? Did you keep the paper?
somewhere? I've got it somewhere. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, at that moment, thank God it happened to me that way, because I had a real reflection and gone, mate, you cannot ride like this. So that led me into, I've been privately and professionally within the police and instructing motorcycles since 1987. And I mean, I still do a heap of stuff voluntarily at the moment to, probably to give back, because motorcycles gave me some incredible experiences with the police. And I don't know whether you want to hear those stories or not, but
No, that's probably enough. People can probably open their mind up and get it. But I just love what you said then, that a lot of people don't get what you just said then, the depth of what you just said, that motorcycling gave you, so much. And without telling us the stories, it means that became part of your identity. It became who you are, and the life experience of that shaped, your personality. And it shaped your career now.
yeah,
And that's
absolutely.
powerful.
Yeah. And I mean, on my last day, and I don't say this to big note myself, but it's probably goes to influence and leadership and how important motorcycles are. On my last day at work, the crew wanted to ride home with me, which is a bit of a tradition we have. But I live on the Sunshine Coast. I worked in Brisbane. Anyway, they were told they couldn't do it by some senior people. So that was okay. We sort of accepted that as, so on the morning of my last day, I got a phone call from one of the crew who said, "Hey boss, you know how we're not allowed to ride home with you? No one said we can't ride to work with you." True story. So
I love it.
at
Love it.
9 o'clock, I had 36 motorcycles turn up in the layaway behind my place with a car. So my wife was in the car, I was the lead bike, and we took over the right-hand lane of the freeway all the way to Brisbane. And it was just, I was very emotional then, obviously, but I just thought, a few things. That's my identity in the police, is with motorcycles, but perhaps I've done some stuff right by these people that they think it's worth doing that. So that was an incredibly special moment that they did that for me.
Wow. And I think let's jump to influence and influencing others, Peter. For you to have that sort of an influence on 36 other humans, that they're willing to go and do that, like, it must make you immensely proud, and humbling again.
Yeah.
But shit.
It makes me proud, but I mean, obviously a little bit of me, but it makes me proud of them, because that's a reflection on who they are as well. Does that make sense? Didn't explain that very well.
100%. They value your leadership, is what you're saying. They valued strong leadership.
Yeah, and they value teamwork, and they value identity. And, I think they value just plain old goodness, which is really important, in my opinion.
And camaraderie.
Yeah.
And I guess.
Yeah. And like one of them rang me the other day. He said, "Oh, Peter, I've got to tell you this." And like, I've been retired for almost 18 months now. He said, "I've got to tell you this." He said, we did a long transport from the Sunshine Coast to Brisbane. And he said, we had 8 of our bikes and we're doing this and this and this. He said, "I wish you were there." And I go, "Oh boy, I wish I was there too." Because, those moments of teamwork and and actually saving a life where you're transporting a set of lungs to a new person, that's just like, that's why you join the police, you know.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, so I really value those friendships and what my people gave me too, you know. Like, yeah, they prop
What you got from your team, not just what your team got from you.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy, what they gave me. Like, that's power. These are powerful stories, you know, and I don't think people, and I probably don't either because I'm a civilian, I don't think we really realise what police people see and experience. And I think, you know, our first responders, even, I think PTS, I know one policeman with post-traumatic stress stuff.
Yep.
You know, it must be tough to maintain a positive attitude when you see all of that stuff, but you've managed to do that. You've managed to stay really, you know, you speak so beautifully, so eloquently about your experience there, but there must have been tough times as well, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I spent quite a bit of time out in the remote communities as well. And that was incredibly tough in a couple of them. You know, because you got a very small band of people doing an incredibly difficult job with, well, when I was in one community, there was 10 people, including me. Given holidays and courses, there was usually a maximum of 6 in town. This is police. In a town of about 3,000 people, that when we first got there, the entire town would riot about every third day. So you'd be standing in the middle of two families rioting. And I'll never forget the first one. It was actually a pivotal moment. I was standing there. There was 4 of us, and I heard this sound I'd never heard before, but instinct said dark. And it was actually a traditional fighting stick coming through the air, and it just went straight past my head. You know, that was a real introduction. But what that whole thing taught me was about the power of a small team if you're committed to the same thing. And we just made a pact between us that we didn't care who you were, where you came from, what family you came from, what influence you had in life. In our town, if you played up, you got locked up. And once that was set, and we did that, you know, repeatedly, like if there was a fight at 3 o'clock in the morning, we got out of bed and we went and did it. No matter what. And over about 4 months, we got to where that was so powerful, there was no more riots for the next year that we were there. So, you know, that's all of those lessons about, you know, being committed together, are so important. And if I can just go on a little bit with that particular place, before I got there, no one wanted to go there as a police officer at all. Yeah, like people had to go there for 6 months on secondment, and you always had vacancies. And so we decided to make it exclusive, and we created a T-shirt that had, yeah, true story. Actually, it was a polo shirt. It was more valuable than a T-shirt. It was a polo shirt. It had a Texas star on it, and it had the community name under it. And we advertised it throughout the police and said, the only way you can get this is if you come to our station for 12 months at least. We had people from all over Queensland ringing us and saying, I was there 10 years ago, I want a T-shirt. And we'd go, no, not happening. Come back. Yep. And after a year, I'm not exaggerating, I had a lineup of 8 people, and I had to wait till people transferred out to get them in, all because of a T-shirt. But it was more than that. Like, it was about the, you know, I've been there, I've done it, I've been part of the team, and you did not get that T-shirt. So yeah, I mean,
Wow.
it's not always about the huge stuff. It's about the powerful stuff that I see.
Well, powerful stuff, man. That is Peter Flanders, off tap stories, man. And you're lucky you got away with your life by the sounds of it. Yeah, it could have
Yeah,
ended pretty quickly for you.
absolutely. Like one night there, one of my fellas rang me at 3 o'clock in the morning. He said, "Boss, can you come down to the station? I've torn my shirt." I'm going, "What the?" 3 o'clock in the morning. So I go down the station, and yeah, he'd torn his shirt. Someone had thrown a crowbar and had gone in here across his chest, and the burn mark was across his chest and into his bicep. And amongst the huge crowd, all wanting to attack him, he had enough sense to rip it out, jump in the police car, and get back. And he ran me and said, "From my t-shirt." I just got, mate, seriously, But once again, I mean, that's a really bad thing, but it's a really strong thing because you know that there is no help available. Nearest help 600 kilometres away in Mount Isa. Even by air, that's hours to get it organised. So you have no option but to be part of that team. And I mean, in that instance, we got everyone out of bed and said, right, we're going downtown. Whoever did this is going to be in the watch house within 5 minutes. There is no such thing as, oh, we'll let it settle down. It's, we need to be this powerful team to do our job and send to the community, your police will protect you. And, that by the end of the time in that community, it was a peaceful, loving community. Took a lot of work.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mate, what a great story. Sounds like you should have got more Australian police medals by the sounds of that.
These are all good stories, but I think it's really important to remember that, emergency service is not just police. This is day to day. This is business right throughout Australia every day.
Business as usual for people.
That's
Peter Flanders. Beautifully put. This is business as usual for some people. And my lovely wife, it would be remiss of me for me not to tell you that they were the only white family on Thursday Island back in the day, and her dad was the policeman up there.
Yep.
And I think he was speared on Thursday Island, so I relate to that story. But I think when they got back to Mackay, it might have been the posting before or after Thursday Island, Jules still tells the story of he was shot in one of the pubs in Serena. And my wife was actually born in Mackay or Serena. That's where her birthplace was. But she tells the story that he was a very religious man, Pat, and he had to go to St. Luke's Church the next morning and pray for forgiveness because he said he aimed a gun at a person and he actually tried to end their life. And he said, that they're the decisions that police people make on a moment-to-moment basis. But he really struggled with that, even though he was shot by the same person.
Yep.
He still grappled with that he tried to take a life. And you talk about emergency services, policing. These are tough roles, tough lives, tough decisions. And
that is an incredibly huge step between finger on the trigger and pulling it.
Have to be.
Huge step.
Have to be.
Yeah. Yep.
Whew. Anyway, too big for our little podcast on Find Your Influence, mate. But maybe we need to do a policing one, like half a dozen police officers. What have you been through? But only great stories like these are really positive stories, Peter.
Cool.
Mate, just last question I'm going to ask is just around that leadership stuff. And I probably don't even need to ask this anymore, but you've probably covered off on it. Have you got a leadership mantra or motto? Like, what is it that allowed you as a strong leader to create the teams that you created? What would you advise other leaders to be thinking about?
Okay, I've actually got 5. Can I read them quickly?
Good.
I say read them,
please.
I'll get them mixed up otherwise. So the first one is know the name of their dog, and that obviously doesn't mean what it says. It means invest in your people enough that you can walk in my thing. I can walk into work and say, "Hey, how's Jessica going? I heard she was sick." And I'm hopeless for names. Like I won't have a clue what a person's name is, but I'll know that their dog went to the vet because it had a tick. I'll know that their Prado is brand new and they've put a bull bar on it on the weekend. And those things are so important, that you invest enough that you know the name of their dog. So that's number one. The other one is, I call it value the meek. And what I mean, value the meek, as in meek
sure.
people.
Oh, nice.
And the second part of that is thank the cleaner first. And you probably understand what that means. You know, you have all these highfalutin people who think they're impactful, but it's incredibly powerful to thank the cleaner first. It's powerful in two ways. The cleaner feels valued, and they genuinely are. But when you got some smart asses, it just cuts their legs out from under them as well. No competition here. Okay, the third one, and this is one I've had for years and years. It's all leaders who have people under their supervision also have them under their protection. Take the hits for your people. So you've got to be, in my opinion, you've got to be the person who takes the hits on behalf of your people.
Wow. The shield.
The fourth one, I'm getting there.
No. I love it. Thank you.
The fourth,
best ever. This is gold.
Fourth one is make a decision regardless of whether it's right or wrong. Because if you make a decision, you instantly know where you stand. But if you don't make a decision, you're just paddling around.
Because not making a decision is making a decision. It's making a decision not to do anything.
Yes, yeah.
And your people see that. Plus, it impacts them because they need you to make a decision.
Yes, that's right. And I mean, if you stuff it up, you pretty quickly you go, hey, I stuffed that up. Hey, I'm really sorry. We need to change it. Yeah.
Love it.
And mate, the last one is my shoulders should always be sore. And that is about probably more than anything else. I've always seen it as my duty as a boss or a leader or an influencer, whatever you want to call it, to hold my people up. It's my duty to do that. And that's real. I could be honest, it's really difficult in government where success is measured, particularly in rank structure places. Success is measured by rank. And I was lucky enough, and it wasn't a particular moment, but I was lucky enough sometime throughout my career to go, hey, that's not your measure of success. So that's where I sit with that one. You got to hold.
Being a good what is the measure of success? I'm going to say that you would say being a good human would probably be more of a measure of success to how many pleats you got on your collar.
More important than anything. And the other one, which goes back to my dad, is maintaining absolute integrity. Even if that hurts, and sometimes it does hurt.
Peter Flanders, best conversation. So cool, man. Thank you. So can I do a quick wrap up?
You can.
Then I'll come back to you. For our listeners and viewers, thank you so much, Peter Flanders. What an amazing conversation. That was just phenomenal. When you hear from old police officers who have done some of the toughest work out there, the toughest jobs out there, it's just so amazing to hear someone like Peter not only have that experience, but be able to articulate what it means and how it's shaped his identity, how it's influenced Peter's behaviour. And we started off talking about, who influenced Peter, and that was Peter's dad, which just phenomenal experience of a truck driver, a long career with no tickets, did everything right, including not swearing. I wonder if you asked yourself, our listeners and viewers, could any of us say that, we've never sworn, or we've never, thrown something or done something in anger, and Peter's dad had, and that's just, what an example, an amazing example. And Peter became a motorbike trainer and safety professional because of an incident that he had, and what Peter described was complacency, and making the job more about ego than being safe and keeping himself safe, and that led to an incident, an accident, and it changed Peter's perspective, which was phenomenal to hear. And right through all of everything that Peter told us today was this leadership, this component about teams and and people following strong leaders, but not only that, it's about the camaraderie and the teamwork, obviously, but the leadership, and it goes both ways. The leader gets a lot out of it because they got a great team, but the team gets a lot out of it as well because they get a great leader. So, and what did Peter talk about with leadership? I'm telling you, team, write these down. If there's anyone out there in the world who transcribes these podcasts, write these down. Know the name of their dog, value the meek, and thank the cleaner. Supervision equals protection. I'm going to love that. Make a decision, and your shoulders should always be sore from lifting your team members up. Woot, woot. Peter Flanders, you rock, mate. Peter Flanders, winner of the APM for your service to motorbike safety and road safety in Australia. Mate, we're all grateful. We're going to slow down by 5K an hour. That's one thing that I forgot to say in my wrap-up. Team, slow down by 5K an hour. You'll give yourself time and distance, and you'll reduce the road toll by 25%. Did you say, Peter?
Yeah, 26.
26%. It's that easy, team. And that was a big wake-up call for me too. I sit on about 104 and full transparency, and I shouldn't say that. I don't get many speeding tickets, but I want to change my behaviour. There's my commitment. So thank you for influencing my behaviour.
Thanks, mate.
Peter Flanders, I'm going to stop now. And team, for all our viewers and our listeners, tune in to future episodes where we get to have great conversations like this with people like Peter Flanders on the Find Your Influence podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Leaders of Influence podcast with Anton Ginn. And if this episode gave you even one idea that you can use this week, can you please do me these 3 things? Follow the show so you never miss an amazing leadership conversation. Share this episode with one leader on your team or on another team who you think could benefit from it. And if you want the full framework, the full experience, and to dive deeper, grab the book Leaders of Influence. By the way, that book spent a week on the bestseller list. It is built to help you lead with conviction, earn buy-in faster, and drive execution without having to chase people. If you want to bring leaders of influence into your business, if you want to have a conversation around how you can create leaders of influence, reach out. Let's talk. The links to connect with us are in the show notes. See you on the next episode.